going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sideboard here at SCG Columbus. My name is Ruben Bressler, and I am joined by Urick Williams. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
The first thing I want to do is make sure that people pronounce your name correctly, because it looks like Eric, but it's pronounced Urick.
Right. I have an accent and a U over the E, because my mom's freaky deaky Dutch.
Ah.
So it's pronounced Urick, but it's
right.
spelled like Eric. You can't type it.
Sure.
So.
Well, we'll get it right on coverage from now on. And speaking of coverage, you're 3-0.
I am.
With a very interesting deck that we first saw in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago at the freezing cold Snopin.
Oh my God.
It was quite freezing there, but we had you on camera defeating Harry Corvasi, I believe.
Yeah, that was a interesting match. I don't know, it was an interesting match.
Yeah, I mean, well, you have an interesting deck that comes at you from a lot of weird angles. Let's talk about this deck, Rug Devotion.
Yes.
So tell me about where the idea of this deck came from.
So I've been building this deck since the rotation. I felt like mono green had a very powerful base and could do insane things with Polakranos. As soon as Polakranos was spoiled, I was on it. The thing that mono green has trouble with is you empty out your hand and then you kind of lose to anything that clears the board. Well, what fills your hand better than blue cards?
Exactly.
So I was instantaneously on the build that had the Prophet, because it was able to do things differently.
Originally had Prophet of Krufix in the deck to be able to like flash in creatures and stuff and use your mana a lot better.
Right. So you were on the big blue plan. You had Cyclonic Rift, which from the moment Cyclonic Rift came out, I was on it, except for Thragtusk was in the format.
Sure.
And it kind of messed that card up.
But now Thragtusk's gone.
Right.
No more beasts on the battlefield for you to have to deal with.
So Cyclonic Rift is an end of turn 7-drop. Time Walk you twice, because you're like, you have no permanents. I'm going to do whatever I want. Then your permanents are going to come down at slow speeds. So
the deck is it's a mono green devotion deck.
Right.
Like you've seen the green-red devotion decks. This one just splashes blue for several cards. We just talked about Cyclonic Rift, how it's a little bit of an upheaval.
Right.
That can reset the board, especially when you're in trouble getting rid of tokens and the like. You've also got Turn and Burn, which has picked up in a little bit of popularity in the blue, white, red control decks. It's another burn spell to be able to take care of early things like
Pack Rat.
Pack Rat, of course, very, very important to get rid of Pack Rat. Also on 5 mana can get rid of any god.
Right.
Which is very important. But you've also got Jace, Architect of Thought.
Best card in standard right now.
Yeah, absolutely. In your green-red devotion deck, you've got Jace.
Yes.
Which you can get off of Sylvan Primordial and typically get off of Voyaging Satyr as well,
right,
since you can reuse your one blue land. And then the other blue card in the deck, in the main deck, is one that we haven't seen in a little while in high numbers, and that's Progenitor Mimic.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Progenitor Mimic.
Okay, so I was looking for a blue card that one-upped anything that you played. And my first thought was, we'll just play Clone, because Clone is just good, it's cheap, it could come out, if you're coming out quicker than me, I am going to clone your stuff and just be better. But the deck runs Gruul, and Gruul does something very interesting. It just inserts things, it vials in things, and
right,
it goes insane. But
yeah,
you cannot vial in
If
clones.
only there were a clone that were green.
Right. Like, whoever thought
It's
of this
amazing.
stuff, right?
And also had more upside.
Oh, yeah, because then the next turn I also get the clone, right? So
Progenitor Mimic, obviously insane. Every turn being able to get you a new copy. Whatever's the best creature in play at the time.
Right.
Even if it's their thing,
right,
Progenitor Mimic's very good.
So I've Progenitor Mimicked Master of Waves, I Progenitor Mimic Gray Merchants, and my Progenitor Mimic is always better than your card.
Right.
It is always better than your card, and you have to do something about it. And the fact that I can vial it in makes it insane.
Absolutely. And multiple copies of Progenitor Mimic, based on the way the card is written, the first one copies the creature.
Right.
And then the second one copies the Progenitor Mimic copying the creature, because it maintains the second sentence.
Right.
So it actually, the second copy then makes two copies during your upkeep.
So when you upkeep, you make 3 Sylvan Primordials and destroy 3 lands.
Speaking of Sylvan Primordial, that is your fatty of choice in this deck.
Sylvan Primordial, the #1 thing you can do on 7 mana right now. It is acidic slime that hits Planeswalkers,
sure,
and ramps you. And the best part about it is it has a huge butt.
Yep.
And
8 toughness is a lot of toughness.
So it blocks demon.
Yep.
because it has reach as well.
Absolutely, yeah, reach. I think that people sometimes ignore the reach on it, forget about it.
I've killed so many specters and so many demons simply because people forgot.
Read the cards, people, come on. Your sideboard is a little bit interesting to me as well. We've got Rapid Hybridization, a card that Mono Blue Control has adopted to be able to take care of opposing Desecration Demons and the like. You're using it as your catch-all kill spell because you don't really care about an opposing 3/3.
I don't. So my cards are better than your cards, like bigger-wise.
Right.
Except when they're like 6/6 flyers, for instance.
Sure.
And the other, so Rapid Hybridization is a new ad. It came in because of things like Boros Reckoner and Demon. So sometimes Boros Reckoner can just get in for 3 damage at a time, and you don't want that. You want the 3 damage, but you want to be able to block it and kill it. You don't want to block it with a 6 power and then 6 yourself.
Right, and even something like Nightveil Spectre can get annoying because you don't want them to start drawing your cards.
Right.
Before you can answer it with a Sylvan Primordial or Progenitor Mimic or something like that.
So Rapid Hybridization came in for what used to be Mizium Mortar.
Sure.
Because it's instant, it's quicker, and it deals with those cards that you cannot stop with just Mizium Mortar.
Yeah, and you oftentimes will have 5 mana on turn 4, so you're like Jace, flip up a Rapid Hybridization to be able to kill whatever you're facing, or something like that. Another one in your sideboard that's near and dear to my heart, because I actually spoiled this card on my podcast in Contention, and that's Gruul Charm.
Oh yes.
Not a card I don't think I've ever talked about in the sideboard before.
Okay, so what won last week?
Last week was Mono Blue Devotion.
Right, and there was 4 copies in the top
sure.
end. And Mono Blue goes 1-drop flyer, 1-drop flyer, 3-drop flyer.
Sure.
And then you go Gruul Charm, wipe your board.
That's awesome. I like it. I'm a big fan.
And the fact is, it has 3 modes that are very relevant in everything you do. The first mode kills all the flyers, so Mono Blue.
So about 70% of the time, you're just sweeping the board.
Right.
Of flyers.
In the case where Spectre has gone insane and stole everything that you are casting, it's a comeback card.
Yeah, you can just brand all your stuff back.
Give me back my Jace.
That's awesome. So they Nightveil Spectre your Jace or your other Planeswalker or your Progenitor Mimic.
Right.
And you're like, nope, those are mine now.
Yep, give it to me.
Sure.
And Ashiok, it also works for Ashiok. Ashiok will play your stuff, and then you're like, nope, give it to me, kill your Ashiok.
I like it.
And then the last one is against the opposing green-red monsters list. Sometimes you get to a standstill where you're like, oh, your Palakranos is huge, my Palakranos is big, and da-da-da.
Yeah.
I always go bigger because I have Sullivan Primordial. They don't. And I have Progenitor Mimic. But then there's sometimes I can't attack through. And besides just Cyclonic rifting the whole board, I just say Gruul Charm, you can't attack, kill you.
Falter, you can't block. Seismic Stomp you.
Right.
Very, very good that you can use all 3 abilities. Even though it's coming in for one purpose, you're able to use all 3 in certain situations, what makes the charms so good, and you found a use for one that hasn't really had a home. And I'm glad that it has a home now in this Rug Devotion deck. Well, this deck is a ton of fun to watch play, and is also very good. This is the 2nd tournament in which you've been off to a 3-0 start.
Yes.
You finished Indianapolis in the top 16 or 32?
I hit in top 32.
So. Top 32. Possibly going to be even better this weekend. Off to a great start. We'll be keeping an eye on you. I would not be surprised to see you in the feature match area later on.
Well, I will hope that I'm going to do well. So.
Absolutely. So, Urick, thank you for joining me. Urick Williams, everybody, here at the sideboard of Star City Games Columbus. We'll be back with more coverage all weekend long with Patrick Sullivan, Cedric Phillips, and myself here from Star City Games Columbus.